So if you go under File, New, there's some options here. Probably the most important options that we're going to be using will be Project, when you want to start a new project. It's a new Xcode project. The other one is File. Do you see where it says File up there? As we're building applications, you're going to have to make new Swift files. What is a Swift file? Swift file is a programming file. We looked at the programming language today. When you build an app, you actually have more than one programming file. Think of when you're doing HTML and CSS and all those things, right? You might have more than one CSS file, right? You can. Might have, I'm sure you have more than one HTML file, right? And you might have more than one JavaScript file, right? If you think of when you're building something in WordPress, right? Think of all the files in WordPress, PHP files and stuff. This is the same way. So you don't do this right now. I'm just going to show you. If you go to under File, New File here, File, New File, we're going to do this a lot. You'll notice there's a whole bunch of different ones in here. Some of them are used for certain things. We're going to be making, like I said, new Swift files. We're going to be making no Cocoa Touch files. If you don't know what that is, we're going to be talking about that. No programming files, and so on. And you'll see there's new storyboard files. There's new. Those are the ones I primarily use: Swift file and the Cocoa Touch one, and the UI test case. I'm not sure, but there's a variety of ones that you use there. So keep that in mind. We're going to be asked to make those. Mostly, if you're starting a new project, though, you're going to go under File, New Project. So I'm going to go under File, New Project. And let's go through this option. So in this option, of course, the first one is asking you, what do you want to build? You got your iOS, which is, of course, the iPad and iPhone. You have your watch. You have your TV. You have your Mac OS. And then you have cross-platform, which is more of a game, I guess. Looks like they have game options here. Primarily, we'll be doing the iOS. What is the iOS options? Of course, what is a single view? That means that you have one. Do you remember my drawing from last class where I said, oh, it's like a stack of cards, right? And you bring cards on top of each other and others move down the stack. Well, that's sort of what the single view is. It's just like, hey, that's my first card. And then you can build other cards on that. A game uses specific sprite kit, which is a way of building interfaces. Like I said, I've never used the augmented reality. I've never used a document-based application. Master detail app, I'm not sure. But I have used a page base. Basically, it's kind of like a single view, but it has pre-made pages in it. Tabbed app is like what we were looking at last class, where you have at the very bottom of your iOS, you have your little tabs in there. So you can automatically start with a tabbed app. And that's an easy way to build an app because you already have pre-made programming along the bottom bar. And so on. So those are ones there. Again, you can have some other frameworks. I'm going to use the single view one right now. And I'm going to hit next. Here's where you need to add your account if you have an account. I'm not logged in right now, so I'm just going to give mine a test for the name. I'm not going to add my account yet. That's okay. We're just going to call it test. You don't have to necessarily add an account right this moment. But eventually you're going to have your Apple account and you log in so that you can do certain things. Again, the student, where does that come from? Because that's the name of the person who's logged in on this computer, right? When you first came in and you turned on the computer, it said student, right? And you turned it on. Test is the name of the file that we just made, test. This is the language. You want to use Swift or Objective-C. We're using Swift, and so on. So then these are just sort of features that it needs to load in for it to test properly. You don't need the core data right now. Next. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. Again, it's defaulting to my folder that I made the playground in before. Where was my folder at? Well, of course, it was in the documents folder, right? You don't need the Git right now. Create a Git repository on my Mac. You don't need that right now. Again, this is if you're sharing and you have multiple people working on an app together. You hit create, and it'll create the interface for you. So those are kind of the beginning steps, and the actual book reading will go through those as well. Look at the folder. almost like making a web page or something like that. You see there's a variety of different programming files. Assets is where you'll store your pictures and things like that. If you bring in an image, these are testing files for testing, and then depending on the platform you're using and so on. The first thing I'd like to point out is this one right here, universal. Remember I talked about I don't like making universal. I tend to either choose iPad or iPhone right here. See it? So I'm going to choose iPhone right now, right here. So here's where you can choose your target device. And the reason why I do that so that then I'm targeting just one platform and so on. So there's a whole bunch under here. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. There's a whole bunch of different options. We'll go through, we'll change some of these. Sometimes under capabilities, so look up here is where I'm going through right here. Again, we were under general. If you go to capabilities, when you want to do something, you can turn it on or turn it off. Because when you make an app, you don't want it to be bloated with a bunch of extra things that you're not using, right? I'm not using the map. Well, let's not include the map stuff into my program. It's on, by default, it's off. But as you can see here, you can see you can turn all these on. Wi-Fi information, group apps, Apple Pay. If you're not using the Apple Pay, you don't have to turn it on. Background modes, class kit, data protection, game center, health kit, home kit, and so on, iCloud, in-purchase apps. These are all, it's under, again, capabilities. These are all things that can be loaded into your app to use it or not loaded in. If you're not using it, it keeps your app down in file size. Okay? And memory allocation. And the ones we tend to use in this class will be the, I don't know why they're, oh, here it is, maps. That's one we'll use kind of right away. And then there's a couple other ones I can't remember. Okay, let's move on. So over here in the upper left corner is where most of your stuff is. You'll notice that you have two Swift files. See them here? Two Swift files. This first one is kind of like the overall app Swift file, and then you have a view controller Swift file. The view controller Swift file is used for this main storyboard, and so I want you to click on the one that says main storyboard right there. If you click on that, you'll notice it gives you basically, and I'm going to move this window around because I don't have a lot of space, gives you what it looks like an iPhone right there. Look, it even has the battery for the iPhone, and it even has the time there and everything. This is a visual interface that you can use to build your application. Simple enough. If you want to add things to your application, you want to click inside it. Once you click inside it, it'll bring up this thing over here. It says view controller. You got a view, and then you got a safe area, and so on right here. This will be kind of a hierarchical structure of what your app looks like. So let's build a quick little app right now. We'll make a very simple one. Let's make one that has a background color. Let's change the background color of our phone, because right now our phone has a white background. That's pretty ugly. Let's give it some color, and then let's put some text on the screen. Let's put a button that goes to another screen. To do that, it's very easy to do. Simply, I know there's a lot of menus there, and it's going to take you a long time to get used to it, but as you click over here in the upper left corner, you'll see you have these little icons over here. These icons represent different parts, different things. Right now is the first one right here. This is kind of the inspector. It kind of shows you the general overview of what your thing is right here. These are just general information. The next one is kind of a help thing that tells what kind of programming has already been loaded. The UI view is basically your user interface. The next one is this one right here, which is basically kind of the telling you what programming, and you'll use this second one right here. This one's called show identity. We'll use the identity inspector here to link things to my interface. We use this to link, and over here you'll see I'll be linking code to it. This one is attributes right here. In the attributes inspector is where we can change things and do things like the background color. So again, I clicked here for the graphic, and I clicked here for the attributes right here. and see where it says background color right here. See it right there? Let's change the background color. You can click on it. You can give it one of these, or you can go to custom and it'll give you the wheel that is up here. So again, I clicked where it says background and I went to the very last option that says custom, and then I come over here and of course I can make my app with any background color. Wouldn't it be cool to give myself a nice orange background color? There we go. See, my app now has a beautiful orange background color. Okay, so it's that easy to change the background color. It's visual. No programming involved. Background color is orange. If you're done changing your background color, I'm going to close it with the little red X. Do you see the red X right there in this window? You can leave this open if you want. Just leave it over there, but that kind of gets in the way. I'm going to close that. Next, I want to put some text on the screen. So make sure, may move it around here a little bit. I want to put some text on the screen. I'm going to go to the, where is my text? I want to put text on the screen. I'm missing my, my options here. Oh, got to bring up the bottom option. No, not that one. Where's my text? Down here. Where am I? I'm confused right now. Tab controller, navigation controller. Why I don't have my options at the bottom? View. Oh, they have a new objects button here. This is a new version. There's your library right here. So click on this thing right here. Usually the library is over here. This is a new version. Do you see the little circle with the square in there? Do you see that? Okay, this is your object that you can put on. These are all your UI elements. Remember we talked about the UI kit being loaded in? So you'll notice you can make a new screen, you can make a navigational controller, you can make a tabbed controller. Look at this one right here. This is a collection view controller. This is the one where you can make a think of your photo gallery, right? This would be a bunch of photos together. Here's your tab controller where you can have a tab along the bottom and so on. So these are all the different UI elements that you can put on. Let's put a button on the screen. To put a button on the screen up here where it says objects, I'm going to type the word in button, B-U-T-T-O-N, and it'll give you a button. To put a button on the screen, you can simply drag it on by clicking here where the word button is and drag it onto your screen. And you have a button on your screen. A button is something that you want somebody to interact with. It's not a label. So the two main types of text we'll be putting onto your screen. Yes? I don't have the library button. You have that button in the upper corner. You need to click on the view. All right, does yours look different than mine? Yeah, he has an older version there. Yours is new. You got my version? Yeah, that computer is an older version. I don't know. Does yours look like mine? Yeah. Okay. You have a different version, maybe, or yours look like mine? Then drag the button up onto the center. Okay, so that's how you put a button out there. So there's two types of things that you use here. One of them is, like I said, a button is something you want the user to interact with. You want them to click on it. You want them to drag it. What are some of the things? Click, drag, move, do something with. A label is text that you want kind of to stay there, but a label you can change. programming wise, you can change the text of a label, but usually it doesn't move. It's not interactive. It's not something that somebody touches. It's just text on the screen. So those are the two main ones. In this case, you could change the text of your button by double-clicking on it, and you can put in go to new screen. We're going to have it go to a new screen with a different color background. So click on it, double-click on it, and type in go to new screen. Okay? You got that? Now, here's the hard part. Remember, there's all kinds of different phones out there. There's iPhone 6, iPhone X, whatever it's called, so on. So how do I make sure that this text is going to be in the center of every phone that I try it on? Well, we do something called auto layout. Auto layout is how you give it constraints of where it's located in the screen. So we're going to tell it to be in the center of the screen all the time by clicking on it. And notice down here at the very bottom you have these options. And I know you can't see my cursor. I'm sorry you can't see it. Look at where my cursor is flashing over here. You should see 4 icons down there. Okay, embed in, align, add new constraint, resolve constraints. I'm going to go to the one that says align. And I'm going to say horizontal center, vertical center. Do you see that? The second one that was in this list down here. The second one. It has like 2 little bars that go. Right? Did you see the one that has 2 little bars at the bottom there? What are we looking for? Oh, I didn't. Right. Yeah, okay. So drag it in the center. And then the second bar. No, the second. Horizontal in the center. Check the box. And then check that box. And then 2 constraints. It'll be in the center all the time. So once you say add 2 new constraints, you'll notice you'll get some blue bars. See those blue bars? What that tells it, no matter if you're on an iPhone 6, your iPhone X, iPhone whatever, it's going to be in the center all the time. Okay? Okay, let's make another screen. I know we're almost out of time for lab time. We can do an extra 10 minutes today. Because we're going to make an app right now. We're making an app. So we're going to make a second screen with a different color background. And so we'll go to that screen. And we'll call it second screen. This is first screen. We'll call the next one second screen. And we'll go back to first screen. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay. Okay, let's make a new view controller, because this thing's called a view controller. You can think, remember my analogy of a stack of cards, right? Remember my analogy of a stack of cards? Well, we're going to make another card. Think of this as the ace card, whatever. We want to make a king card. Okay. So you can make a new view controller, a new view. Again, I'm going to go to my little pull-down menu here. Remember where we typed on button? Those of you with the older version, remember there's like a little box at the very bottom down there if you have the older version. And type in view. And the first option should come up, says view controller. Do you see that? View controller. Again, it's either click here where this is right there and type in the word view. Or if you have the older version, go all the way down to the lower box that's down here and type in view. And then drag this out. Okay, drag that out. And now we have a second card, right? This is a second screen in your app. Screen number 2. Right here. We can give it a different color background. Let's give it a different color background. Did everybody get that? Second screen. Okay, let's give that a different color. So we can click on it. If you click on it, remember this one with the arrow pointing down, right? The attributes inspector. See that right there? And we can change the background color. Let's give it a different color. Remember, go to custom. Custom right there if you want a cool color. and then we can give it a color. We give it a cool color. Again, there. Everybody got a second screen with a different color? Okay, let's add a button there because we're gonna have a button go back to the first one. So the button, remember, is an interaction. So let's put a button on there. Again, you can either click here to get a button, or you can type in there, and I'm gonna put a button on there. Same way you put a button before. Button. Drag the button out there. Put it in the center if you want. Say go back first screen. So this one says go to new screen. This one says go back. So put another button. Again, how do I get a button? Go here, type in button, drag a button out. Drag a button out. Okay, so we have one screen, says go to new screen. We have another screen with different colors, says go back. Okay, so now we have to do a little programming. We want the program to go from one screen to the other when they click on the button. Simple as that. Very easy little application. Then we'll test it in the simulator. Here's the problem that you're going to run into is that as you go back and forth, it's going to add memory. We haven't planned any memory. There's no memory. We can plan memory is what I'm trying to say. So every time you go back and forth, it adds more RAM, more RAM, more RAM, more RAM, more RAM, and it'll crash. Okay, so we didn't plan memory. Okay, two screens. Yeah.
Well, you change your default to be this with background color. Yeah. Recently,
You can't see the bottom of the screen here. This is really hard for me to teach when you can't see the bottom of the. But there's a plus and a minus down here that allows you to view. I don't know why.
you set your default to be that. I don't know how.
I'm gonna have to sit down and view yours. Or how to zoom in and out. Is this what it came up as default? There was nothing along the bottom? Okay, let me finish and then I'll help you get there. I'm almost done. I'll come and help you when I'm done if you didn't get it to work. Okay, let me finish real quick here, and then when you're done, I'll come and finish it. So again, we have two screens going right now. One with one color, another with another color. You'll notice towards the bottom, if you don't see that, there is an option. I know you can't see it, so this is going to be a problem with me being able to teach you anything, because a lot of what Xcode has is a lot of stuff down here at the very bottom that I can't show you because it's not allowing me. I don't know if I can make my window smaller. Let me see. Okay, here we go. There we go. Now I got it smaller. Down here is you need to have access to this option down here, because this is how you zoom in and out. You can zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, because you're gonna build apps that have a lot of things. I think I showed you last class the flow chart of that one app, the Iceland app. Do you remember that? So you're gonna need to have some. I don't know how to bring this window up. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But let me show you how to program back and forth. So we don't need to do any programming. It's very visual. So what you can do is we're going to drag. So I'm going to click on the first one. I want when the person clicks this button to go here, and when I want the person to click this button, it goes here. To do that, we're going to hold down the Option key on the keyboard. So click on this one right here. I'm going to hold down the Option key on the keyboard. I'm going to drag over. Oh, not the Option. I'm sorry. Which Control key? Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Is it Control? I made a mistake. Click on here. Control click. Control click. I'm sorry. Control click onto this window here, and you see a blue line. So again, drag the button with the holding the Control key down. Gives you a blue line. That goes to the second option. Then you have what we call a segue, right? This is going from one screen to the other. You'll notice it says action, segue. This word is segue. You got show details, present modularly, present as a popover, custom, and so on. I'm just going to say show right there, show. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one, where I'm going to click on the text that's on this one. I'm going to hold down the Control key, and I'm going to drag to this one. And I'm going to release my mouse, and I'm going to say show. So right now, we have just connected these two visual windows to each other. When you click on one, it goes to this one. When you click on this one, it goes to that one. How do I know that? Well, I can test it. And when I test, I don't test. You'll notice up here in the very top corner up here, I'm going to choose an iPhone. So you see it says testing up here. I'm going to click on this window right here. It says iPhone XR right there. Do you see that? I'm going to go all the way up to iPhone 8. I like to test an iPhone 8. So I'm going to change this up here where it says iPhone 8. The reason why it says view as iPhone 8 down here as well. See where it says iPhone 8 right here? Then I'm going to hit this little play button right here. See the play button right there? This is a play button. So click the play button and it'll play this inside of, and the reason why I'm getting a little error there, you'll see there's an error, is because this text we didn't tell it to be there. So it should give you the simulator, and then so you see where it says go to new screen. I'm going to click on there. Boom, it goes to the second one. And this one says go back to the first one. Boom, goes back to the first one. Second one, 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 first one. So as you can see, that is really, somebody's calling me in class here. I don't know how to turn it off. There you go. Okay, so you should be able to go back and forth. So I'm going to stop this recording.